Oh, did you guys hear the news? I knew this was coming the moment they taught those monkeys how to read. The resignation of Nixon, the succession of Ford, the exposure of bad deeds by the FBI and CIA, all aimed to regain the badly damaged confidence of the American people. Mark my words, this country's making a beeline towards Planet of the Apes. Have you seen those movies? I can't fight a monkey. Caesar is a great leader. Beyond that, what about the monkeys here at the circus? If they hear about this, Lord knows what is going to happen. In an absurd world, conspiracy theories are expected. But what happens when somebody acts on their delusions? That is where Bugonia comes in. We see a man kidnap a woman he believes to be an alien sent down to Earth to create havoc. It's an incredibly simple concept with some deeply philosophical themes. Like, what the hell are we even doing here? So today we're going to be looking at the script along with the Korean film that it is a remake of. We'll see how it evolved, what's here, what's gone, and most importantly, what is it saying? Before jumping right into the film, let's do some quick housekeeping. First of all, this movie is a remake of a South Korean film titled Save the Green Planet. Conceptually, it is the same, but there are quite a bit of differences that make it a very unique viewing experience. For one, the tone is much more of a standard dark comedy rather than a sociological satire. Most of the characters are completely different as well. I will bring it up when I feel the differences are relevant or interesting, but this video is not meant to be an in-depth comparison of these two movies. And the other thing I want to say before getting into the analysis is that I'm going to be going over this film with the twist that's revealed at the end in mind from the very beginning. So if you haven't watched this movie, I would highly suggest that you do before watching this video, because I'm about to spoil it. And with those two things being said, let's get into this script study. Opening shots are important. It starts with a voiceover with some clever wording before cutting to a flower. We are told about the importance of bees in our ecosystem, explained to us by our protagonist, Teddy. He's explaining all this to his cousin Don, giving context to the mission they are about to execute. Teddy explains to Don that he went out and searched for a reason why the bees have been dying, believing it is all some big conspiracy. The voiceover continues as we get these montage shots that introduces us to Michelle Fuller. The script mentions Michelle's eyes open right before her alarm goes off, but in the film she has a sleeping mask on, completely concealing her eyes. And since we know that she is an alien, the choice to conceal her eyes was made specifically in her introduction to establish her dehumanization that progresses throughout the film. The power of this montage shows us the amazing juxtaposition between organic maintenance of the human body versus how the elite maintain their health. In this, we also see Michelle's work, Oxalith Biomedical Headquarters, in which she is the CEO. I like how the building is made of glass. It reflects nature, almost like it's attempting to blend in or be invisible, symbolic of Michelle's role on Earth. Teddy outright compares the human race to the bees. One of the first things he says in the voiceover alludes to the rest of the movie. The workers desert the queen until she's all alone with her young, and the colony wastes away. Michelle is not only an alien, but she is the emperor. She is the queen bee. The human race does indeed waste away once the queen bee is left alone. The comparison between humanity and bees is a thematic motif throughout the film, and it comes off very natural considering the characters and their motivations, but it also sets the stage for thinking about humanity and life on this planet in a larger scale. Are we really made up of workers and a couple of queen bees, all just trying to reproduce and keep the cycle going? It's not all the time that a film's themes are so brashly clear so early on in its runtime. Teddy tells Don the importance of avoiding certain harmful habits. Don's actor, Aidan Delbis, and the character are both on the autism spectrum. This detail is not in the script, but it is clear that Don and Teddy's relationship has a certain power dynamic. with Teddy being Don's mentor in a way. He knows everything and Don knows nothing, but wants to help because he loves his cousin. There's a lot of changes to Don's dialogue, likely due to the fact that director Yorgos Lanthimos saw Don's character as being neurodivergent and sought out someone not in Hollywood to play the part. The character changed. It's a natural part of the evolution from script to screen. It's a good change, as when reading the script separate from the film, you wonder why Don follows Teddy so devoutly. Knowing he's on the autism spectrum makes it obvious why that is. He's the perfect victim for Teddy's manipulation. The scene ends with the two saying they love each other, and Teddy exhibiting his innate desire to be a hero, saying he's doing all this for Don and won't let anyone hurt him. We then cut to Teddy explaining to Don how he's about to chemically castrate him. I love the dichotomy of these scenes. Them being back to back is excellent character work. Teddy just love-bombed Don before forcing his hand to do something he does not want to do. To keep with the bee motif, if you eliminate a bee's ability to pollinate, what does that bee do? Its one biologically coded reason to live has been stripped away, making it just another bug. Teddy's belief that he must give up part of his and his cousin's humanity to save the rest of the planet is a self-given prophecy of heroism. Teddy gazes at the stars with a look of crazed and glorious hope. He's no madman. He's a believer. He wants to be a hero. We then get our first real scene with Michelle. She comes off as textbook corporate nice. She is politely rude. Michelle Fuller speaks into camera in a glossy product shot. She is smiling, animated, magnetic, the embodiment of the modern American CEO, a progressive face with a ruthless soul. Before getting into the kidnapping scene, I want to point out the cinematography. The script occasionally describes specific shots that the film does not adhere to. The shots feel convex, creating a spacious feel outside and a claustrophobic feel inside. We see everything, a full showcase of the world, exactly what the film is. It's taking the desire for the audience to think of the world on a larger scale, literally, showing us a bigger picture. As Michelle drives home, the script says the song Babylon Sisters by Steely Dan plays on the stereo. But in the film, we get Good Luck Babe by Chapel Roan. This song was used heavily in the marketing, and I think it's a good choice. It's funnier if the alien is singing a modern pop song rather than a random 80s rock song. And obviously the lyrics themselves act as a foreshadowing self-affirmation. Here is how the script describes the kidnapping. Exterior, Michelle's mansion. Front drive, day. Michelle gets out of her car and beeps the lock. As she rounds the car, Teddy and Don emerge from the other side. They are dressed in thick, sail rack ski jackets and pants. Halloween masks conceal their faces. Teddy and Don jump Michelle. Clumsily, she drops her keys. No! Fuck! Michelle throws Teddy off of her with surprising strength and gives Don a Krav Maga elbow strike to the throat that sends him to his knees, choking and gasping for breath. Michelle makes a run for the door, but realizes she is without her keys. She runs around the side of the house, through trees and shrubbery, as Teddy gains on her. Help! Help me! But no one on her isolated property can hear her. She moves toward a window, but before she can break through, Teddy catches up and tackles her into a bed of flowers. Teddy sprays Michelle in the face with an antihistamine can. She panics and covers her eyes. Then she hits Teddy and throws him off of her. Michelle begins to run to the backyard, but her legs give out from under her. Confused, she falls to the ground. Numb, she looks at her thigh and sees a syringe sticking out. She reels and loses consciousness. Teddy stands over her body. Don catches up. What now, Teddy? Teddy catches his breath. Staring at Michelle, he smiles. It's always interesting to see how action scenes are written, since they tend to be very fast. We see how beats are broken up and described to fill up the page to accurately portray its screen presence. And that last bit is missing in the film. Specifically showing Teddy smiling would have given him a much more manic appearance, something that the Korean protagonist does have. After Don cuts off Michelle's hair, her phone rings. Teddy nearly crashes the car as he smashes the phone. Interior, Michelle's car, day. Fucking bullshit. Give me the clippers. Don hands Teddy the heavy clippers. Teddy hammers the phone as hard as he can with the clippers. Eventually it shatters, and we see the inner guts exposed. He tosses the clippers and the phone aside. He's sweating and out of breath, his fury subsiding. Alright, good. Don looks scared of his cousin's rage. Another moment in this sequence that would have changed the way we see Teddy. His anger does come out later, but there seems to be triggers. This moment seems spontaneous, making him more unpredictable. Suddenly a cop car appears behind them and attempts to pull the car over, causing Teddy to trick the cop before peeling off. All these missing moments would have elevated the intensity of the kidnapping sequence, making it much more of a spectacle. The film opts for a shorter, concise sequence, with the music bringing the intensity. Having a cop show up during the kidnapping process is a classic writing tactic, immediately challenging the characters the moment they get to their goal. The film wanted the boys to accomplish this task with less hiccups, making it look surprisingly easy. Michelle is transported to their basement, where they cover her in an antihistamine cream. Why? Well, to quote Teddy, to level the playing field, saying it weakens Michelle's neurotransmitters. The boys get dressed. They put on ill-fitting suits, bargain brand. This is their idea of dressed up, like high school kids at a debate tournament. There's also this cut line. It's too tight. I look stupid. You don't. You look fine, Don. Honestly, you look fine. No, I don't. What's the swine gonna do? Call the fashion police and arrest you? It's not in control anymore. We are. We decide what's elite. We decide what looks baller. And guess what? You look baller. I just would have liked to see Jesse Plemons say the word baller. Michelle wakes up and Teddy gives his speech. He assures Michelle that they do not plan on torturing her, a stark contrast to the Korean film, which features multiple torturous acts from our kidnappers. In that film, the CEO is a man, so while the torture is still gruesome and upsetting to watch, if Michelle was tortured the same way, it would come off as a little more brutal, and would probably have been a breaking point for a lot of audience members. She even uses the fact that she is a woman to elevate the gravity of the situation. There's a term that's been coined, missing white woman syndrome, pointing out that when a white woman goes missing or is killed, the media focuses more on that than similar crimes, where the victim is not white, not a woman, or isn't either. Later, Michelle even asks if this is some sort of sex thing for the boys, leading to Teddy explaining to her the chemical castration they have enacted upon themselves. This element is not in the original film since they kidnapped a man. The chemical castration not only elevated the insanity of Teddy, but is symbolic of killing your humanity when in pursuit of heroism, an ironic act. To be a hero is to be in tune with humanity. Teddy killed a major part of him that makes him human, making him ill-fit to be a hero. This is the first scene that gives us the full concept of the film, and it works completely, mainly due to the fact that CEOs and rich elites in general feel so disconnected from the rest of us that they might as well be aliens. For example, one of the first things she does is ask about her hair. It's the first and most obvious tell that she is an alien. But when it's your first time watching, you just think she asks because she's a conceited, superficial millionaire. The scene ends after some back and forth, with Teddy establishing dominance. Teddy leans down next to Michelle. She may flinch slightly, and I want you to know this is difficult for me as well. You killed my family. You killed my coworkers and my community. You killed the bees. So given that, you should respect how super professional I am being right now by not gutting you. There is loss and pain in his eyes. He means every word. Michelle stares back at him. She says nothing, just nods. Teddy nods back. He's enjoying the feeling of control. The script often uses words like may or maybe to describe possible actions for a character. I have never seen this type of language in a script before. It changes the way you see the scene, since it's not in stone like a typical action. Naturally, a script is up for interpretation by the director. This type of language just makes that ever more apparent and even asked for. Teddy and Don leave Michelle downstairs as they celebrate and have dinner. There's this great moment that is not in the script.
And the world will see you as you truly are, a hero. That's why we stick to
the plan.
I enjoy the wordplay. You think they're going to say together, but nope. It makes their disconnect from each other clear. Don is the stand-in for the audience. He's sympathetic to Michelle and is not too interested in the conspiracy stuff. He does see that the world has gone to crap, but is more encapsulated with the idea of space and leaving Earth than he is saving it. And we learn that he was correct to be that way. Here's a scene not in the film that tells us this. Interior bedroom night. Don is alone on the mattress in the dark. He looks at beautiful images of swirling celestial bodies on his glowing smartphone. A cosmos so distant and wondrous, so far away from this small and squalid life. His head is on a pillow right next to the air vent. From the vent he can hear very faintly the distant sound of Michelle weeping softly in the basement. Don begins to cry as well. He covers his ears, trying to shut the noise out. We then get our first dreamy flashback to Teddy's mom, the needles representing her drug problem. Teddy, being present and assisting, tells us that he was more than aware of his mom's problems. In the script, the scene takes place in the kitchen rather than the bathroom. Teddy's mom, Sandy, sits on the linoleum floor with a younger Teddy sitting next to her. She looks strung out, weary and manic, and her body is covered in needles like a sea urchin. Her voice is soothing and maternal, but it's also clearly the voice of a controlling and unhealthy figure, a mad presence. As she speaks, Teddy gently removes the needles from her, one by one. This scene shows us that Sandy is the reason Teddy is the way he is. She planted these ideas in his head, and he ran with them. Cut to the first title card, counting down to the lunar eclipse, the day Teddy orders Michelle to bring them to the Andromedans. The script simply says, the Earth, but the film takes the opportunity to show the Earth as flat with ice walls, a common joked about conspiracy theory. Another massive tell that Teddy is right, that you likely just take as a joke the first time you watch it. The next morning, they cover Michelle in more cream before Teddy makes his way to work. Exterior, street, early morning. We see the bleak, post-industrial heartland that molded Teddy. Teddy pedals furiously while listening to a Fringe podcast. The podcast is the stereotypical loony conspiracy podcast you would expect. Now that we know that Teddy believes these things due to side effects from his trauma, it makes these podcasts seem much more dangerous. They are feeding off of people like Teddy, the damaged, that want to be heroes, so they conjure up a villain to battle. On his way there, he runs into Casey, his old babysitter, now cop. They have a strange history that we will cover later. At work, Teddy is loving to his coworkers and encourages Tina to file a claim against their employer. Tina smiles and pats Teddy. He can be dramatic, but he's got a good heart. He's the only one around here looking out. In the break room, Teddy sees that the disappearance of Michelle has hit the news. The film cuts to Teddy at home, tending the bees, but the script shows us his ride after work. Exterior, street, day. Teddy bikes home, earbuds in, for a self-help podcast. Funnel your trauma into new synaptic regions. These memories do not define you. Instead, they can plug you into opportunities for creativity and transcendence. This puts the film's themes on a pedestal, so I can see why it's not here. The idea of using your trauma for good is exactly what a lot of heroes across the history of storytelling do, which is why Teddy is gravitated towards that idea. He wants to take his bad past and channel it into something good, but also relevant to it. At home, Teddy loves the worker bees, just like how he loves his co-workers. Exterior, Teddy's house, beehives, day. Close-up on honeybees, swarming in and out of a hive. Teddy tends lovingly to his colony, his precious friends. The script has a lot of tender moments like this that are not specifically emphasized in the film the way the script seems to have intended, once again opting for wider shots that capture the entire space, making us feel like an observer the whole way through. In the basement, Teddy listens to the tape Michelle made, asking her alien leader to allow Teddy and Don a meeting. He's upset by the low effort she's putting into this and snaps after she proclaims again that she is not an alien. In the script, he smashes the tape recorder, but in the film, he picks up a chair and has to stop himself from hitting Michelle. A massive difference, with the latter showing Teddy's unpredictable side. He can snap at any moment, and you never know what's going to set him off. This is one of my favorite interactions in the whole movie. Reading the script often leads to appreciating the performances of a film on a whole new level. This moment on the page versus the screen shows us the talent of these actors and the director. Michelle tells Teddy she believes he is this way due to being in an internet echo chamber. He retorts this, causing Michelle to call him mentally ill. Knowing that he is right, it's interesting to think that everyone that questions the world on a large scale is seen as mentally unwell. We live in a weird place where weird things happen, yet when some people try to tell us stuff that seems out of the realm of possibility, we shut them out of the community. They turn into an other of the world, even though they could be right. The act of shaming someone for questioning the world is a part of the brainwash set up by the system out of fear that it will lead to the boat being rocked. The scene ends with Teddy implying something awful after slapping Michelle. Everybody denies it at first, but then they confess. Don and Michelle both contemplate this ominous suggestion. Teddy heads upstairs and Don follows. Michelle is not the first victim in Teddy's quest, and Don does not know that. Teddy likely didn't tell him because he probably wouldn't have agreed to help if he knew. And yet, after this, Don never questions Teddy about it, once again showing the mental control Teddy has over him. Teddy explains to Don how he knows so much about the Andromedans, shows a rendering of their ship, and credits other internet creators for their research as well. Don asks what their lives will be like in space, confirming that that is where his motivation lies, other than simply helping Teddy. He also mentions that the chemical castration has made him sad. Ever since those shots you gave me, I've felt kind of weird and crazy and sad sometimes. Teddy listens. Those are not ideal side effects, but he nods. It will pass. Don't worry. The inclusion that Teddy knows that that sadness is not a typical side effect breeds concern and foreshadows Don's fate. The next day, Teddy decides to elevate his tactics to get a confession, but before he can, Michelle decides to confess herself. The film cuts straight to the shock treatment Teddy has planned, but the script goes like this. I mean, look, you can't blame me for trying to conceal it for as long as I did. Part of my mission here on Earth has been to, blend in and so forth. So, Michelle is not very convincing, and she knows it. Look, I'm very tired. I know this all sounds not as, forceful, or the verisimilitude is not where you want it to be. But I assure you, I mean what I say, and I'd like to move forward now to a solution. I'm not an alien. Teddy just stares. Then he walks to Michelle and offers his hand. She hesitates, then takes it. They hold hands. You want to start over? Yes. Good. Let's start over. Teddy pulls a key from his pocket and unlocks her bracelets. Michelle hides her excitement. Is this really happening? Don keeps a shotgun pointed at Michelle. Teddy moves over to the object with the sheet covering it. He lifts off the sheet to reveal a chair bolted to the ground. Have a seat. Michelle considers bolting, but Don is there with the shotgun. Please. It's okay. Have a seat. Michelle sits. Teddy straps her to the chair with metal wire. What are you doing? Starting over. Teddy straps her wrist to the armrests. But why are you strapping me to a chair? Because we can't start over until basic facts are established. Like what? I was hoping we could agree on your genus and avoid a painful test, but you forced my hand. Teddy also straps Michelle's head on a leather headpiece, places electrodes on Michelle's temples. She struggles. The film then has Teddy play the Green Day song Basket Case, the exact type of music Teddy would like. A song perfectly describing him. The script says he plays Good Morning Sunshine, music that is connected to his mom as it plays during the flashbacks in the script. This leads to Teddy apologizing to his mom before shocking Michelle, a moment that feels like genuine remorse of some kind. He does not enjoy this, and maybe uses the song as motivation to remind him why he's doing all this. Or maybe he just loves this song. I, for one, would love to see Teddy's Spotify Wrapped. Teddy increases the electricity, much to Don's dismay. It gets higher and higher, until Teddy comes to a realization and stops it. On Michelle, in the chair, rivulets of sweat have run the white cream everywhere. She looks like a melting clown. Teddy comes to the conclusion that Michelle is an Andromedan leader of some kind, since he has never been able to shock an Andromedan that hard before. This whole idea of the alien being royalty, unknown to our protagonist, is new to Bugonia. As in Save the Green Planet, it's known and told to us right away. This is the first of multiple twists, and works well being right in the middle of the movie. It keeps the audience on their toes. The second flashback shows us Teddy's real connection to Michelle. Oxalith conducted an experiment with drugs on certain patients, and Sandy was one of them. It resulted in her being in some sort of comatose state. Michelle tells Teddy some basic corporate sympathy notes. Something funny is that the scene's slugline says it's black and white, but then describes Teddy's hair as dyed purple. Obviously, you wouldn't be able to see that. We also see Sandy float away, rather than have her already suspended in the air. As Teddy struggles to stop his mother from floating off into space, he looks at Michelle with pained eyes. Michelle quickly recalibrates. But I mean, it's a hard decision. No, it's a hard decision, and we'll have to take our time with it. But anyway, that's a dialogue for a different day. The word dialogue, it's like a knife in Teddy's side. He continues to reel in his floating mother with the drip tubes. A little further down, we simply won't tolerate the idea of you and your family bearing that financial burden. We're covering all of it. This one's on us. Michelle slightly cringes at her tasteless phraseology. Michelle later admits that she has become too human, that our foul nature tainted her alien mind, turning into a corporate husk rather than the caregiver she was meant to be. She became a selfish queen bee, and the hive failed. Before they have dinner, there's a scene of Teddy and Don setting the table that's only in the script. Interior kitchen day. Teddy and Don set a table for a fancy meal. They've broken out the best plates and cutlery, tablecloth, even a candle. Teddy steps back and examines their handiwork. He reaches in and makes a few little adjustments. It must be perfect. We still hate the fuller humanoid, but now we know it expects a certain level of decorum, so that's what we'll give it, to earn its trust and get what we want. Don nods. This has us question if the whole royal blood thing is real, or if Teddy is simply manipulating them. Omitting the scene also makes Teddy's newfound attitude towards Michelle as genuine accommodations for what he sees as Andromedan royalty. On to dinner. With Michelle sitting there in Teddy's mom's clothes, it's like a bizarre family tabloid. They converse, and Michelle compliments Teddy's activism, leading to a poignant line from Teddy.
I'm all for people who can do that, the activism thing.
99.9% of what's called activism is really personal exhibitionism and brand maintenance in disguise.
Okay.
They steer away from that and talk about bees. Michelle, the alien, loves bees because of their work ethic. She loves bees because that's what she wants humans to act like. We all have the tools and biological needs to be like bees, but we aren't. Teddy brings up colony collapse disorder and puts the blame on Michelle and her company, conclusively filling her in on why they captured her in the first place. Teddy believes she was sent here to kill the bees/environment, leading to the death of humanity. Michelle says that her company was not responsible for the bees and in fact helped bring them back to normal population levels. I know you want there to be a master plan, Teddy. You want the bees to be dying so it can be my fault, and you don't have to think about the real reason why species die. Immune deficiencies, changing habitats, genetic factors, or sometimes a species just winds down. She exposed Teddy. Earlier, Teddy warned Don that she is a master of emotional manipulation, yet ironically falls victim to it. She knows why all of this is happening, but is amping him up before saying it, keeping what she knows in her back pocket till the perfect moment. Teddy doesn't believe her theory on the bees, giving Michelle an opening to confront the real reason she was taken. She brings up Sandy and explains how this couldn't possibly be the reason she's here. And she's right. This was never about saving the world, it was revenge for his mom. The hero concept Teddy has is all an excuse stemming from his trauma to rationalize his extreme actions. You can only delete your humanity to a certain extent. He removed the biological urge to reproduce, but not the psychological tethering he has to his mother. If he went to therapy before all this, he probably could have genuinely saved the world. Michelle mentions that the experimental medication Sandy was put on was an opioid withdrawal medication, confirming his mom to be a drug addict. Dimensional Sandy puts Teddy in a rage, and he attacks Michelle. The script has this scuffle end differently, with the doorbell ringing while Michelle is still conscious. This makes Don's decision to knock her out more considerate. In the basement, Michelle says that Don could have shot her, but he didn't. He's a real hero. The script makes it seem like a decision made simply due to panic. At the door is Casey. Teddy lets him in, and they talk awkwardly. Casey asks Teddy about his missing boss Michelle, since they caught the car in a speed trap, a consequence of that missing car chase scene. The monitor showing a live feed to the basement is casually turned off by Teddy before Casey notices. But in the Korean film, we get this.
저도 있거든요.
아닙니다. 다음에 하죠 뭐.
UFO다. 뭐? UFO? 어디? UFO가 어딨어? 지나갔어요.
This is just one of many incredibly bizarre and absurd moments of comedy. So if you liked that, I highly encourage you to check it out. They start talking about their lives, and we learn about their history. Casey was Teddy's babysitter when he was a kid, and molested him. Casey apologizes about all that, and Teddy tries to end the conversation. He asks if he wants to go out and see his bees, just to get him out of the house. During their conversation, we cut to Don and Michelle in the basement. Michelle attempts to talk Don into saving her, saying he won't get punished. Don doesn't want Teddy to get in trouble though, so he's not down. In the script, he even slaps her. Weakly, but it's still a sign that Teddy's manipulation is turning him violent, closer to him. Teddy brings Casey out to the bees, just as Michelle seems to be gaining some common ground with Don. He requests to be taken into space if Michelle really is an alien. She says that she isn't an alien, but agrees to this anyway. But then Don says he actually won't go unless Teddy can come too, something Michelle will never agree with. Trapped between his devotion to his cousin and the distaste of holding a woman captive, Don can only see one way out. He turns the shotgun on himself. The chemical castration that he said made him feel sad certainly aided in this decision. Teddy is the way that he is due to his traumatic past. He was raised by a manipulating drug addict. He took some of those qualities on himself and then manipulated his own cousin. The shotgun blast sets off Casey, so Teddy wastes no time to take him out. He throws the bees at him and they swarm his face. In the script, he apologizes to them, which makes sense. We saw how much he loved them, and now he's using them as his weapon. But I suppose he believes the ends justify the means. Teddy kills Casey with a shovel and runs inside to see Don's corpse. Teddy flips out and is about to kill Michelle when she makes another confession.
Don't kill me, Teddy. I have a cure for your mother.
The film cuts between Michelle's explanation of the cure, being in a bottle of antifreeze in her car, to Teddy retrieving it. It's one of the multiple little montages the film has, and none of them were written in the script. The script is completely linear. Teddy takes Michelle's word and travels to his mother on his bike. He gets inside unnoticed and injects the antifreeze. The script has one last flashback spliced in here, where Sandy wraps Teddy up in silver blankets and then vacuum seals him while telling him to promise her to watch out for the aliens. The point has already been made that Sandy is the reason Teddy is a conspiracy theorist, so this scene is unnecessary in that sense. It does make Teddy come off as more of a victim himself rather than just a lunatic. Back at the house, Michelle breaks loose and explores the basement, where she finds Teddy's research room. Interior, Teddy's research room, day. Michelle enters a long, narrow room packed with all manner of medical research. Books, files, instruments, and samples. Most ominously, Michelle sees on one tall stack of shelves a series of specimens in jars. Human hands, eyes, and various organs preserved in histidine, tryptophan, ketoglutarate. What has he been doing down here? These are Teddy's other victims. Likely how he not only found out what the spaceship looked like, but also how to spot an Andromedan. Earlier, Teddy compared this process to someone that cooks steak, an eerie comparison, knowing that he was literally cutting people open. Teddy watches his mom die, since the antifreeze was indeed not the cure. Bummer. He rides home just as Michelle has an epiphany. Michelle looks around the room, all of Teddy's research, all of his hope and delusions and pain and anger, his endless, violent, pitiful search for an answer to the unanswerable. Michelle takes it all in, and she nods. It seems there's only one way out of here. She knows what must be done. Teddy arrives, and Michelle takes dominance over the situation. Interior basement, day. Teddy enters and sees Michelle standing in the middle of the room. But it is not the same restrained, subdued Michelle he has seen before. No, this Michelle is standing tall and proud, with no chains to contain her, and she is staring at Teddy with a look of supreme, otherworldly authority. She explains to him the history of humanity, the real history, stemming from Andromedans. In the Korean film, we actually see this as it's explained, and it's super cool. I really wish we got to see a new version of this here. Michelle explains that the humans on Earth are mutated, degraded semi-humans, the apes. In the script, she gestures to Don's corpse after this line, which is kind of rude. She goes on to degrade the human race for destroying its Earth. She says the Andromedans were sent here to eliminate this suicidal gene that has infected humanity. This suicidal gene implying our incredibly hypocritical behavior. We are destroying the place that we live. It makes no sense, and it does seem suicidal. She says that Sandy was actually an experiment. The drug given to her was meant as a test to eliminate this gene. The Korean film goes on to explain that she was chosen due to her drug addiction, saying already weak specimens are more likely to adapt and evolve quicker. Michelle tells Teddy all this and says that they must meet with the other Andromedans to show the progress of humanity. She plays into his need to be a hero to convince him. The next day, Teddy and Michelle go back to her office. Her employees are all in shock, but don't know what to do. They hide in her office, and she says she'll teleport Teddy using a calculator as he stands in the closet. It sounds ridiculous, but isn't all of this? Teddy reveals that he has a bomb strapped to his chest, SpongeBob style. There's a bomb strapped to my chest! Meant as a precaution, so Michelle doesn't try to pull any funny business. Michelle types in the code on the calculator, and Teddy goes into the closet. The script has Michelle cautiously walk back and then yell out that he's got a bomb before the sudden blast. The film, however, omits this, with Teddy blowing up the moment Michelle presses enter on the calculator. We hear Teddy yell just before the blast, making me think that this was his plan all along, to suicide bomb himself into the alien spaceship. By all along, I mean probably just this day. With Don and his mother dead, he probably figured this would be a better out, rather than try to talk to the aliens. The script also doesn't have Teddy's head fly out and hit her, an absurd moment that feels right at home in this bizarre film. Michelle is then transported into an ambulance. Michelle looks at the detective. The detective smiles. Anyway, we can get into that later. I don't want you feeling like a sharp, rattled exhale of air from the detective's mouth. The muscles in his face relax and drop as he falls to the floor. Michelle stares in shock. The EMT turns and looks at her puzzled. Suddenly, another sickening exhale from the EMT, like a pig lung being squeezed out on a butcher's block. He falls dead. The Andromedans kill off some of the people around Michelle so she can make her escape. Something similar happens in the Korean film. The film doesn't have this, and Michelle simply walks out of the ambulance. This would have added to the confusion and made you really start questioning everything. The film opts not to reveal Michelle's true identity until it's the most visually spectacular. She enters the closet and emerges back on her ship in a honey-like substance. Yum. She converses with her kind, and they agree that the Earth experiment is over. Humans have failed. But it also seems like Michelle likely believes she herself has failed. This is not an easy decision for her to make. We believe they've had time, and in their time, they have imperiled the life they share, and so we've decided their time will end. A difficult decision. One by one, the aides leave. Michelle, the fully humanoid, the great and wise Andromedan Emperor, is alone. She must pay for the mistakes of ancestors. A cube appears before her. The Emperor stares at the cube. The Emperor slowly lifts her hand and opens the box to reveal a square. The Emperor reaches out her fingers, hesitantly, and touches the square. Here we see Michelle stand over the flat earth and pop the bubble around it. We then get a series of poetic shots of death, all of them taken directly from the script. The Pete Seeger song, Where Have All the Flowers Gone, sung by Marlene Dietrich, plays. The lyrics make the message obvious. Where have all the flowers gone? When will they ever learn? The film ends like this. Exterior, meadow, day. All man-made interference with nature has stopped. All human life is gone. There is only quiet, utter peace. But the countryside is alive. Alive with the sounds of insects, birds, and mammals. The natural world teeming with post-historic life. Earth has been saved. A beautiful flower gently sways in the clean breeze. A honeybee lands on the flower. The end.
He started to have an existential crisis. The film acts as a current explanation of our planet and our species. Why are humans harming the planet? Why are we so against peace? Why can't we be more like the bees? Well, trauma certainly plays a role, as we see with Teddy. If you think you had it bad, Teddy's trauma resulted in the end of the world. We are sensitive and emotionally driven creatures. We try to suppress those things and act the opposite, resulting in us losing our humanity. The script says that the world is actually saved by everything that happens. You know, maybe it's a good thing. It's a bittersweet ending, and it once again gets you to think about everything that we do here. How silly it all is when one day we can just be gone. If you like this video, leave a like, subscribe, leave a comment on anything you maybe disagree with, or maybe something I missed, or a future movie you may want me to cover. Over on Patreon for $1 a month, you get exclusive content and ad-free content. Also, check out that reading channel where that monkey will read you something. I'm gonna go teach this monkey some politics, because, well, he can't be worse than what we already have.
Maybe Jesus beat that rap, we're not sure. Maybe you could live forever, your heart is pure.